Yeah, I figured I've been gardening now for, well, off and on for 20, 20 years, and I did a little bit before when I was, you know, whatever. And so I'm just going to give you some great advice on how to make your garden grow and how plants grow and stuff like that. Well, not really. I don't know anything about it. I'm lucky it rains most of the time. Lucky the dirt ain't poison. All I do is put the plants in, water them. Sometimes it rains, and whenever it rains, this is one thing I know. Uh, when it rains, I think people you'll see a growth spurt. I mean, I got 1,000 gallons worth of rainwater stored up right now in four totes, four 275-gallon totes. They're all full of rainwater. And I thought, well, tap water's got chlorine in it and stuff like that. And I thought, well, if I get 4,000 gallons of rainwater, it's going to be great. But then last year, all my freaking rainwater, how I have a cover and everything, so the sun can't get in there and create a bunch of algae. But it still did. It still got in there and got a bunch of algae in it. And I thought, well, all the farther my brain went is, well, the algae's in there. It's going to fortify the water, purify it. It's going to suck all the contaminants out of it, and it's going to make my water even more pure. All my I noticed I had this one volunteer tomato plant that I put down in a pile of compost. That thing grew all summer long. I mean, it just spread. It was beautiful, green leaves, no problem with leaves whatsoever. It was beautiful. My whole garden I watered with these freaking 1,000-gallon tanks with all this gluck in them. I don't know why it was building up. I guess, water sitting is going to build up. But I didn't have the problem the year before. And, but anyway. Or maybe anyway. But I realized that, wow, it's my water. It's all that stuff in there is messing it up. So this year, it's, I'm going to put chlorine in or bleach. I'm just going to take some bleach, figure out how much bleach put in 275 gallons, in each one of my tanks. And hopefully it'll keep all that algae and stuff from building up in there. But it's like, well, that's stupid. Here I got perfectly good rainwater, and now I'm having to put bleach in it to keep it from contaminating my plants. Because that one plant down there, I didn't water it. I didn't ever use that water on it all summer long. It was just rain. In fact, I don't even think I watered it. It was just rain just enough each time that one plant down there alone, that lone volunteer, which I had a couple volunteers. I'll have a bunch of volunteers. Hopefully, I'll have a bunch of volunteers because I have a couple plants that have been eaten. I had like 6 tomato plants. 2 of them been eaten already. And I think 1 pepper plant's been eaten. I only had 3 pepper plants. I wanted more this year, but a lot of stuff, I don't know. It's just some seeds didn't come up, and I'm going to go out today and put some seeds in. But anyway, only thing I know is I think the rain, I noticed this in hurricanes down in Louisiana, that you get real, it's like nausea you get in, and I think it's the fluctuation in the atmosphere, not the humidity, but the barometric pressure. And I think it opens because I had all these trees in bloom down there right before Katrina, and had all these trees in bloom, and then the day I left, because I had a trailer and I was going on a load, and they said it wasn't going to hit, or they said it wasn't going to be a 5 or whatever it was. They said they didn't think it was going to hit Louisiana, but anyway, so I went to get a load. I think I went up to Dallas or something like that to get a load, and then I get up there and I'm going across 20 or something, and I heard that, wow, that's going to hit New Orleans. I thought, well, dang, well, at least I'm getting the trailer out of there. At least I got to be able to get a load. and hopefully my house. But anyway, I think it creates a nausea. I think the barometric pressure. But I asked people down there that lived down there their whole life. I said, "You ever get sick like right before right before it you get a hurricane, you get a nausea feeling?" Oh no, I'm figuring, well, maybe they're just used to it. But every time they start to get they get a call, it was like saying, well, like I think Rita came later, and I just get that nausea. But I think the barometric pressure opens up your pores or something, and I think that's why all those blooms dropped. Is all the trees, it just boom, they just dropped. I mean, I didn't watch them drop, but like one day they was bloom, the next day I went out and they was all on the ground. I was like, oh man, that's a lot, and you can feel it's almost like you can feel. In fact, I don't know if I had vegetable plants in buckets out in the back, or if I had a raised bed, or what I had, but almost all my blooms on all the plants I had dropped, and I'm pretty sure it's a barometric pressure. Now, how did I get onto this? Oh, plants. That's what I'm saying. I think when it rains, there's a change in barometric pressure. That the reason the plants go off of rainwater is you're watering all the time, but you're not changing the barometric pressure to create a suction or whatever it is to get those plants to suck up the water. So I think that barometric pressure does something to the plants to cause them to suck up water, which causes them to grow. That's about the only thing I know about that, and you got to have drainage. And that's the reason I got raised rows. But that's the only two things I know, and I'm compost, but I'm not good at composting. And you're supposed to stir it and get it to heat up, and I've never had it to stir. I've got it to break down because I leave it in there all year. And these people are doing it. Well, I got 3 weeks, and they're pulling up dirt, and it's like fluffy dirt, and it's like, well, I can't do that. But there's one thing is, even if you have a rainwater in barrels, you're still gonna have to do something to treat it, unless you live in the desert where it's super dry and you're not gonna get any algae and stuff in it. And make sure you got drainage. That's about the only two things I know. And water lettuce more than everything else. I know this is not really any knowledge that anybody knows, but I just thought it's funny that I'm lucky it rains, and I'm lucky the dirt knows how to put nutrients in there, because even when I fertilize, I don't think it does anything. I don't see them greening up. I don't see them doing anything. It's all dirt and water and atmosphere and sunshine, and all those things know more about plants. In fact, deer and rabbits and everything go out there and they'll clip off stuff, clear, it's kind of growing, kind of sprouting, and then they'll go down, clip it off, eat it all. I'm like, well, there's the end of that. And boom, a week later, it's twice as big as it was when they bit it off. It might not be that quick, but 2 weeks later, maybe. But I mean, it's like they come through. I'm thinking, well, they destroyed everything, but they've done it so many times, and it comes back better that, I don't complain about animals coming through. I mean, some of them come through and they totally destroy stuff, but it's like, well, I wonder why I'm figuring animals no more. I mean, plants have been here, people just destroying plants aren't animals. They might go through a field because we've taken all their area of grazing and everything away. But in actuality, plants have been around for millions of years along with animals, and the animals didn't make them go extinct. But look how long humans have been here, and the industrialization and all the populace explosion has wiped out how many species of everything. We're totally destroyed so much stuff. And animals have kept it here for millions and millions of years. And then we go turn around and somebody turns around, I blame this and I blame that. I blame industrialization, commercialized farming for creating more pests. If everybody just had a garden, you wouldn't have all these commercial farms creating all these pests and stuff. So I don't blame animals. I just try to figure out, well, maybe they're here helping me. Of course, there's sometimes that, they might just eat something because they're hungry. Like I had I had 2 blueberry plants out here by my garage. Deer came through this winter, and there was buds all over them in the fall, right? You could see them. Wow, these are going to be great blueberries this next year. And these deer came through. I mean, this was a long winter, cold, snow. I've never seen this much snow all winter long. I mean, in Iowa, it usually snows, then melts and turns to slush, and it's just slop. It was like a, I'd like to call it, we're not in a, I don't know what zone we're in, but I call it a slop zone because it snows, then melts, and then it's just sloppy, like your mud and slush, and it's like slush. And it's never like, you know, snow like you see in mountainous areas where it's snow and it's piled on the side and it goes. You never see that. It's like it gets pushed to the side by snow blades and then it melts and it's slush and slop. But this year it was just boom, just piling up. It looked like, you know, like some big snow area like Colorado or New York. I mean, not as much, but it looked like quite a bit. But that's all I'm saying is I think nature knows more about it than me. Like I don't have hardly any pears. I had a bunch of pears. I had a tree bloomed, and my raspberries, they didn't really come up. And my cherries, I had a bunch of cherries on there, but now I hardly have any pears, hardly have any cherries. I don't know where they are. They didn't drop on the ground, so I'm guessing some deer came in here, stood on their legs, get to the pear tree, and just ate off all the cherries because there's nothing on the ground. And they weren't red, they weren't ripe, they were just small, you know. The cherries were small and the pears were small. And I looked up there yesterday. I thought, wow, where's all my freaking pears? Where's all my freaking cherries? So I figured the deer came through there and ate them. And I still got quarts left over. I got pear jam. I got grape jam. So I don't really need, you know, I got my grapevines aren't doing too good. Now I'm guessing it's the rain. But it's also, you know, my stuff ain't growing. It's going to get a rest year. You know, maybe the roots will grow. Maybe the roots need to grow. Maybe they've been flowering too much. I'm thinking, you know, this is just nature telling me. That's how I interpret it. But I got enough stuff that, you know, I do need some tomatoes, so I got to go out there and plant some tomatoes. I'm just going to seed them. I've done that before, and at the end of the season, you know, they'll give out some. But that's what I'm going to do today is throw a couple more seeds in the ground instead of the plants I grew. But I don't know that much, you know, except for what I've read about. But I ain't even that good at doing what I read. I compost, but it's nothing like these people showing this fluffy dirt. But rain, soil, and sunlight. You know, as long as the plants are getting the right amount of all that stuff, you got no problem, because everything else doesn't really help it grow. It maintains it until the rain comes. And you know, if I could change the atmospheric pressure of the plants to get them to suck up water every time I water them, it'd be great. But I've never seen any of my watering help my plants grow, except banana plants. I have some banana plants down in Louisiana, and if you just constantly water them, you'll get a foot of growth a day. I mean, you'll get a whole banana leaf in almost two days. I mean, they just grow you can almost watch them grow. That's the only thing I've noticed that if you water them, they'll grow. But I got no advice. Water and sunlight and drainage, good soil, right pH. But you can't. It's hard to change that too. 13 minutes of zero knowledge.